More data from the ECB, lending to banks rising by 13 million to 1.6 trillion euros. And more comments from this Biden advisor says the persistent imbalance in the US-EU agricultural trade is an objective problem.
Alright, let's see which one is gonna get subbed out. I guess the dollar is on the way down, but dollar CAD. Oh, never mind, sorry. The exposure like 0.5 and 0.9, so I guess I could add to dollar CAD. Okay, now it's pretty much the same.
Euro yen. Euro yen.
The Biden advisor believes the aggressive actions by Russian President Vladimir Putin must be countered when necessary with coordinated sanctions.
Pound yen.
In US political news, the New York Times reporting that Bernie Sanders has sounded the alarm over a Trump nightmare scenario. He's warned the election is an extremely dangerous moment for the country. In an interview, says he's going to aggressively push to try and stop Trump from delegitimizing the vote.
Pound yen. Cable.
I think I did some micro scalping on AUSSIAN. Oh, I forgot to voice it. Connect to the Discord, sorry. Morning! Or something like that.
Now it's time talks.
Cable. Pound yen.
Hey Swing, is it TTT time? Winking face. Ta-ta-ta time. Not sure what that means. Hey Swing. I survived New York again, so far, today.
Hasn't even started yet. Why is my default color purple? What the hell?
Revenge trade?
No, I haven't traded at all today.
How did it go with the department?
It's sorted out in a very creative way.
Nice.
Now I am a proud Bangkok Bank customer. Problem solved.
Oh, really?
I stayed away from this bank for so long. And now I'm a client by force.
Well, let me give you a tip. If you access it online, use the VPN.
Why?
Wait till
for
1
some
hour and then
reason-
see.
When I access it from my Thailand connection, the website locks up, like, and doesn't.
That's just because they're crap.
No. If I access it from the VPS at the same time, the VPS is actually in Dallas, Texas, and it works just fine.
Yeah, maybe they have their hosting outside of the country. I don't really like this bank. This is just a way around my problem.
Well, that's just a tip, because it's pretty aggravating.
Because of that, I have to trade a US session,
Swing.
which is usually a nightmare. Well, actually, I cheated. I had no clue. I just saw, okay, everything is at the Weaver. Let's just sell the euro and sell the Canadian dollar. One of them is gonna work. So I closed the euro at some pip drawdown and then just scaled in on dollar CAD.
Cable.
But this is maybe short-lived, like everything in the US session.
Pound yen.
It's probably already over. Unbelievable. Should have taken the money. I'm such an idiot.
So good afternoon, it is Luke here to take you through the US session today. I just want to highlight as we move into 10 minutes until the US cash equity open, and we do have a lot of speakers in the session. Just over an hour, we will have Jerome Powell and Steve Mnuchin speaking. Throughout the day we'll have President Trump as well as President Xi speaking at the United Nations. In terms of Fed speakers today, mainly non-voters in Chicago's Evans, Richmond's Barkin and Fed's Atlanta's Bostich. Data from the US at 3 o'clock London time, 10 AM Eastern time, comes in existing home sales for August.
Trying to find my way. Take me by the hand and let's go find our own space. Somewhere in between you and me. It's a piece of magic.
Also in terms of European speakers, ECB Chief Economist Lane is chairing a panel at 3 PM London time.
I can see the fire escape, and you can read my mind, that's why you're heading that way. Nothing will ever be the same.
Cable is going down.
You, I don't remember.
I should take profit here.
Are you looking for a good time? I think you should take a chance on me. And do you want to get the mood right?
Hello.
I think you should take a chance on me.
President
That
Trump here
divergence
speaking at the
between
UN,
pound
saying the
yen
UN
mil.
must hold
Scalp
China
2 week
accountable
and
for their
Mac on
actions.
H1.
You've been on your way.
Oh, X-Scalp, good idea.
You've been on your way for all your life.
Okay then, the cat looks pretty good. Don't know why cable is going down.
Take a chance on me.
Any events? No, nothing really serious. Oh, there we go. It's gonna turn into a loss. Cable is still going down. The euro seems to want to go down too. Yeah. Decisions. Yeah, dollar CAD is gonna go back up. And there it goes.
Pound yen.
Ah, shit, I didn't see it hit the target.
I fucked up on Euro, yeah, and I was shorting it all day, and
Yeah, I just... Dollar CAD just hit at my target and I didn't take profit because I was looking at something else.
hit my stop loss. That went up 5 pips, and then I re-shorted it because I was really heavy.
Shit.
Euro dollar.
No, should have taken profit. That's gonna take it all back. See if the VWAP holds on the euro.
I really hope not.
Ah, shit. That's gonna fuck up my dollar trade. Dollar CAD.
Euro dollar.
Oh, maybe it's holding. You're short or long euro?
Sure. As I said, I fucked up. So, this is a little bit of a revenge here. Then I'm done. I was up like 1.7%, and yeah, I just had a very optimistic target. Oh, that's what happened.
I'm gonna close the dollar CAD now. This looks very, very bad, but it looks like breakout-ish too. Ah, fuck it, I just wanted to make a small range trade anyway. 3.5
Euro
pips.
yen will give me enough pullback to make a profit.
T1.5. T1. T1. T0.7.
And out.
Close all.
Should have just closed it. But no. That's too easy. And my phone is about to explode. It's gonna break out now. Just rub it in. Why I cannot reload? Oh, bot is still running. Refresh. There comes the breakout. Uh, 21.38.
Euro dollar.
There she goes, breaking out. Or pitching around. Which one it's gonna be, but it looks very much like breaking out.
Alright. I'm off. See you later.
Alright, have a good one. I'm done too. I just made a trade, so for the sake of making a trade.
I just turned 1.7% profit into 0.7% loss, so I'm really bad at this.
Well, it's not the end of the world, I guess. Just don't push it, have enough time.
I saw diamonds and skies, and I did all for you, 'cause you wanted me to. In your eyes I saw diamonds and skies.
President Trump tweeting here saying he will be announcing his Supreme Court nominee on Saturday at the White House. Because the exact time of this announcement is to be arranged. So just to repeat that, Trump saying he will announce the Supreme Court nominee on Saturday at the White House, with the exact time still to be arranged.
Oh, this is gonna break so hard. But I'm not a breakout trader, so whatever.
Hey, Swing. Euro yen sell. What do you
Just on
think?
Twitter as well, former UK Finance Minister Sajid Javid says he will support the UK Internal Market Bill.
In your eyes I saw diamonds and skies, and I did all for you, 'cause you wanted me to. In your eyes I saw diamonds and skies, and I did all for you, 'cause you wanted me to. You and me, everything that we've been through has made us strong. You won't believe we've had our gray, but somewhere there's a light inside of us. It shows the way. Not looking for no heaven to go, 'cause I got you.
Hey, Swing, did you hear me?
No, but what did you say? Sorry.
I said Euro yen sell. What do you think? But that was already almost 5 minutes ago.
It looks kinda pretty. This looks kind of like a fake.
I posted the chart in that trading room.
There was some sort of rejection going on the euro too. Yeah, that looks not bad at all. It kinda went over, but this could be the usual US session thing, so I would like have a stop above the pivot, which is... Oh, this is 20 pips.
Looks like
Hell
it's gonna
yeah.
almost finish.
That's also a reason why I went out of dollar CAD.
Looks like I'm almost finished.
11 pips to the VWAP. This looks pretty good.
I still got the feeling that you're next to me, stuck in my head. When lights go off, you're everything that I could ever want. Your touch so soft, not looking for no heaven or gold, 'cause I got you, don't wanna show us off, but you're my all that I need. Trying to look up cold, but I'm flying so high, I don't even know if I'm coming down. You rock my boat.
Ah, fuck it. I gotta hold it for at least 5 more minutes.
I'm telling you why, this ain't no madness. The smoke in the mirrors, our memories, now the sun has come down. Like a river rushing way up above. This ain't no sugar coat. Yeah, this ain't no sugar-coated love.
Aussie dollar.
There we go, VWAP, moment of truth. That was quick. Oh wait, sorry, that was pound yen. Euro yen has still 12 pips to go. Meanwhile,
VWAP is 10 pips down.
man, Tesla keeps going up. I was expecting it to drop even more. This is not going as planned. I was expecting it to drop another $100 at least. Damn, this Euro yen looks pretty. 9 pips to the VWAP. Wow, I just got a push message that my stop loss on $CAD was filled, which was, I don't know, 15 minutes ago. Ah, still looks good.
Maybe I should just close it at the VWAP.
That would be a safe bet, but it depends on what your long-term plan is. But VWAP is always a good bet.
My long-term plan doesn't have any bearing on this.
Yeah, then VWAP it is. But this looks pretty solid. Like this, really wants to go down. Look at the euro. Yeah, the euro is 20 pips down already from the VWAP, and my $CAD is probably back at it. Oh yeah, that would be a massive loss. Glad I exit that one.
I'm out. But I do want to know, so I'll watch it.
That's a bit of a jammy exit on the dollar CAD.
I actually still wanted to break out, you know, doing the US thing. I'm not a breakout trader, I just could not. Oh my god, oh my god. It's like 0.3 in like 9 minutes. I'm not gonna give that back. Oh wait, that was a trend line. This is just my additional. I had it on my main chart here. Oh, you exited the reverb? Nice. Anyway, dollar CAD. Yeah, here's a trend line. Let me just remove that one.
And then it started bouncing before it hit the V1.
So when it hit the support line the second time, I just trailed it, and then it went back up.
You see what Euro Yen just did?
Yeah, I saw it. Before I switched the charts, I saw it. It just almost hit the reverb, and then bye-bye. But this is probably gonna go through anyway, but this was a good exit, nevertheless.
Yeah, it'll go through, but I didn't want to be in it for that.
What's causing the volatility we're seeing at the moment? I mean, there's some news coming up in 7 minutes, sort of low impact news.
Oh no, this is European and US data combined. So this is gonna shake the trade for sure. And if they are aligned, I mean, if the European data is good and the US data is bad, which I doubt, but that's gonna make an interesting movement. But I'm quite sure they're just gonna be just as bad or just as good, and then it's just gonna make random movements. Well, what do we have? Let's just stop speculating here. And
Half an hour after that, we've got Fed Chair Powell testifies.
oh, yeah, but they're all non-voters. Wait, Powell is a voter, right?
Powell's the chairman.
Yeah, he's also non-voter. Okay, never mind. But he's gonna. Yeah, sorry, my bad. That's completely unrelated. But there were some other Fed people were talking, but all of them were non-voters. They were even not on the calendar.
That was for the EU.
I'm like 80% sure this was something about a Fed. But all of that was just dismissed because, well, they're gonna say some shit, but nobody gonna listen to them because they don't have a vote. Something like that. But this is different here. Yeah, there is consumer confidence for the EU. So if that's bad and the home sales are bad, then the euro is gonna go down and the dollar is gonna go down. So nothing is gonna go nowhere.
Yeah, I'm tired anyway.
Yeah, and this is US session, so what the fuck. Maybe a short dollar CAD again. But no, maybe not.
Oh, see the dollar index made 2 lower highs and then just turned around and screwed everybody.
Yeah, right. Like I don't know, 20-ish minutes ago, it just started to move. Like, okay, never mind, we're done here. This is probably just pricing in. The DAX looks like it's making a reversal. Show me the DAX. Oh, that looks pretty. That looks so pretty. But I don't want to lose money.
We're just moving into 3 minutes until we get US August data. Existing home sales looking for 6 million,
DAX.
the range 5.5 to 6.3 million, with the home sales percentage change 2.4%, the range -5 to +15.3%. From the Eurozone consumer confidence flash September, looking for -14.6, the range -17 to -12. Also as well, the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index, September read, looking for 12, sorry.
Oh, now I just feel bad. Easiest trade ever. Oh, never mind. What's the euro doing? The euro is gonna move interestingly. Oh, let's just put it on the overview.
It's just coming down to the low of the day.
Yeah, just picking up some stops for the fun of it. Okay, euro dollar. And what else is interesting? A dollar CAD. VIX and the S&P. S&P, there we go. Alright, find a hole. When is that speech anyway?
Did you just put in a sell for euro dollar?
No, I wanted to sell the DAX, but I changed my mind.
Getting the early release of the Richmond Fed Services Revenue Index coming in at 6, positive in September versus positive 2 in August.
Euro yen is still 2 pips from the BWAP.
And getting the early release there of the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index at 21 on a prior 18 on an estimate of 12.
Right. 40 seconds. Oh, 12 seconds, sorry.
Existing home sales coming in at 6 million, with the existing home sales month on month at 2.4%. So just to repeat that, US August existing home sales rising to 6 million, matching the estimate, with the existing home sales month on month at 2.4%, also matching the estimate.
Yeah, consumer confidence is also better. Minus 14 to minus 13.9. So let's buy the indices, I guess.
Also as well, the Eurozone Consumer Confidence Index rising to negative 13.9.
And nothing happened. Never mind. Except if the DAX is going up.
So the Bank of England there saying that although economic impact of COVID-19 is uncertain, activity has been supported by fiscal and monetary policy. The Bank of England given a 6-month notice on the withdrawal of the COVID corporate finance facility, saying that it has helped businesses bridge temporary cash flow disruptions.
Yeah, that was pretty much a no-brainer. Should have shorted the USDCAD. Somehow the dollar index is still going up.
A French official here saying progress on the EU fiscal rules must be discussed post-crisis, and saying that the UK internal market bill questions the UK's credibility. There's a French official there saying that the UK internal market bill questions the UK's credibility and that EU fiscal rules must be discussed post-crisis.
And this is why the US session is just untradeable.
Hi.
So Fed Evans coming through with comments now saying what has surprised him the most is that the US has been able to return to about 90% of pre-crisis economy.
I guess just buy the DAX.
Making the word President Trump's now speaking at the UN.
Yeah, I just got a message from Stock Trades. The UN must hold China accountable for COVID-19.
COVID-19 death toll rises. He has marked up his growth forecast.
Come on, DAX, dip down a little bit up so I can buy it.
I'm too tired for FOMO. Good night.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it a day too. And this shit is moving pretty quickly now.
Hi.
just want you all to hear it. I just want you all to hear it. just want you all to hear it.
So Fed Evans there says he expects unemployment to fall to 5.5% by the end of next year, assuming further fiscal support and a vaccination.
I'm closing the DAX with a micro profit.
In regards to inflation, Evans says inflation will continue to be challenged and will underrun 2% for a number of years.
It's just gambling at this point.
I just want you all to hear it. 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 I just want you all to hear it.
I see you did 11% yesterday. Nicely done.
I'm sorry?
I see on your video you did 11% yesterday. Is that right?
Oh yeah, that was a stupid trade, but it worked for some reason. That was
Fed Evans here saying that his outlook
pound
and
yen,
forecast
euro yen at the same
for
time.
the economic variables is premised on at least 500 billion, perhaps 1 trillion of additional fiscal support.
Going on in more. You see, if I would held it, I just closed it at a support line. But if I would held that, I made a 4% profit just on pound yen. That would be, I don't know, 15.
So just to repeat that then, Fed Evans says his outlook is premised on at least 500 to perhaps 1 trillion of additional fiscal support.
And the same,
11% on your real account?
yep. And the same here on euro yen. That dropped even further, and that dropped to my 4-hour support. Right there. But I was in the car looking at the mobile. I say, holy fuck. Okay, I'm gonna take that money.
Damn, just kept going, didn't it?
Yeah, it just
Well
kept
done.
dropping. Yeah, this yellow line on euro yen, that is actually 4-hour support. That is quite far. I mean, I made
And Evans
quite a
there
few
saying
pips
that
there. It's
the
like
recession
24
dynamic
for
is
me.
hit in a big way
And it
without
dropped
further
another
fiscal help.
77 from there. So that's a 100 pip move in less than an hour. Just restart mobile real quick. Oh, looks like I used in day 912 twice. Oops. What's my last blog entry?
So you're allowed to stay in Thailand?
Yeah, ish. Yeah, right. This is not 912. This is 913. What the fuck? Yeah, just some bureaucratic problems. Nothing really serious, but this kind of problems can become unsolvable.
Yeah, you taking a day off Discord is a bit unusual. I pictured you on a flight.
To Cambodia. To Mexico. Something like that, hiding.
Is to hold a briefing at 1 PM.
And you know, the casual Thai style troubleshooting. Why wait and smile and wait.
The White House press sec to hold a briefing at 1 PM.
Damn it, the DAX would have gone really well. I didn't even bought it very heavy. It just, okay, never mind. 3 contracts not gonna kill me. And this actually goes.
Just a reminder as well that the US House will vote on the stopgap measure today, and it will pass on something
S&P
resembling
500
party
looks
lines.
good for shorts.
McConnell then has a decision to make, and he can try to amend it with farm money, according to Politico. However, they say they expect that the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer will block that, so McConnell will have to decide whether to pass the Dems bill or risk a shutdown.
Did I hammer in something in the VIX for the Fed action? It's pretty high. Ah, fuck it. Oh shit, that was quite a lot. 80 contracts? Never mind. Why I have 40 contracts on quick buy?
Just greedy.
Nah, it's probably from an old account balance.
Shorted SPX 500.
There's gonna be some interesting volatility in about 15 minutes-ish. Maybe a little bit later.
That was my next question. I mean, is it really high impact news, this Fed speech?
It depends on what he is saying. This is just his testifying nonsense. It's just a kind of an interview. They're doing that via Zoom, right? Last Last time this was like, oh my god, this is the worst podcast I have ever had.
Powell is in a hole.
It's like, I mean, like these old dudes trying on new technology, and the quality is like 64K modem, 1982, whatever.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
I meant to say arsehole.
I mean, don't they have somebody who knows about technology? I mean, sure, they want to do advertising for Zoom or whatever, but still. How about buying a professional package and getting some bandwidth? I mean, these people basically own the US dollar, and they cannot afford a fiber connection, or what? It just makes no sense to me.
They're probably in their country retreat.
Yeah, so get a satellite connection. I mean, come on, seriously.
I've tried satellite, and the latency's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, okay, that's true. I had also satellite backup when I live in
Just a heads up, as we move to
town
10
of
minutes
Sin.
until the bottom of the hour, we will hear from Fed Chair Jerome Powell as well as Stephen Mnuchin. Be testifying to the House Financial Services Committee.
Is there a live stream for that? Maybe put that on.
Mnuchin is speaking also. Woohoo. Dandy.
Oh my god, Google. Bing search is just unbelievable. I typed in Bing Fed Testify live stream, first match, EST live on eBay.
Alas.
For reserve colleagues and our online viewers. Today, we will consider seeking public comment on a proposal to modernize the Community Reinvestment Act regulatory and supervisory framework. The advanced notice of proposed rulemaking under consideration would seek to modernize the CRA by strengthening, clarifying, and tailoring CRA regulations to ensure that they reflect the current banking landscape and better meet the core purpose of the CRA. CRA plays a vital role in supporting economic opportunity in low-income and minority communities in both rural and urban areas, and is the top priority for the Federal Reserve. Given changes in the banking industry since the CRA regulations were last substantially revised, the measure before us proposes ways to modernize CRA assessment areas while maintaining a focus on more traditional means to provide banking services like branches, given their importance to individuals and communities. It also seeks to strengthen the CRA's role in financial inclusion by proposing special provisions for minority depository institutions, women-owned financial institutions, low-income credit unions, and community development financial institutions. It also proposes to create incentives for bank investments in geographic areas of need outside of assessment areas, including in Indian country. A cornerstone of our proposal is a framework for incorporating standard metrics into the examination process. These metrics are tailored to local market conditions, including demand and needs, and adjust to structural, economic, and business cycle changes. The ANPR also seeks comment on how to strike an appropriate balance between greater certainty in how banks are assessed and minimizing data collection and reporting burden. Stakeholders have expressed strong support for the CRA and its goals, and have called for the banking agencies to work together on a modernization plan. This proposal is an important step forward in laying a foundation for the agencies to build a shared, modernized CRA framework that has broad support. I look forward to hearing the staff presentations and will now turn to my colleague, Governor Brainerd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am delighted to be here today considering the board's proposed advance notice of proposed rulemaking on modernizing the Community Reinvestment Act. The CRA is a seminal statute that remains as important as ever as the nation confronts challenges associated with racial equity and the COVID-19 pandemic. Stakeholders have expressed strong support for the agencies to work together, and the ANPR is intended to build a foundation for the banking agencies to converge on a consistent approach that has broad support. Before turning to Eric, I want to thank the chair for his strong support for the CRA modernization process and his consistent focus on reflecting the interests of the intended beneficiaries and the feedback from banks in a thoughtful and balanced way. I want to thank Vice Chair Clarendon, Quarles, and Governor Bowman for their patient and thoughtful engagement on this process and their constructive suggestions, which I hope are well reflected. I also want to thank former Chair Janet Yellen for entrusting me with oversight of our community development work when I first arrived here. It truly has been a high point of my time at the board to engage with local communities all over the country, as well as our dedicated staff. The proposal represents a very sustained, thoughtful, and balanced approach on the part of Federal Reserve staff, of which we can all be proud. Every staff member who has contributed to this project has been data-driven, collegial, exceptionally attentive to input from the broad range of stakeholders and colleagues at other banking agencies, and creative in tackling the complicated trade-offs that arise and trying to provide greater transparency and predictability while also retaining the CRA's signature responsiveness to local needs. With that, let me hand it over to Eric Belsky, who embodies all those qualities and has provided consistently exceptional leadership for this endeavor.
Eric, you're muted.
That's classic. Thank you for pointing that out to me. Thank you, Governor Brainerd. As you indicated, the draft advance notice of proposed rulemaking before you today, which we will refer to as the ANPR, seeks to better meet the CRA's core purpose to address inequities in credit access for low and moderate income communities and to ensure an inclusive banking industry. The ANPR moves us in this direction in three ways. First, it strengthens the focus on low and moderate income retail lending, community development, and retail and community development services by modernizing how CRA performance is evaluated and measured. Second, it updates our approach in light of changes to the banking industry over time, including mobile and internet banking. And third, it aims to advance financial inclusion by proposing incentives for further bank investments in minority depository institutions, community development financial institutions, and community development activity in geographic areas of need outside of assessment areas, including in Indian country. In developing the ANPR, the staff had three additional purposes in mind. Consistent with stakeholder feedback and the aims of all three banking agencies responsible for CRA, the ANPR centers on ways to provide greater clarity and consistency, as Chair Powell mentioned, about what counts for CRA consideration, how it's taken into account in assigning ratings, and where activities will be assessed for CRA performance. In addition, our staff was also careful to tailor CRA evaluations for differences in bank sizes and business models. For example, the ANPR tailors for small and rural banks. Finally, staff was mindful of the importance of minimizing data burden and tailoring data collection and reporting requirements based on bank size and business model. In developing the ANPR, staff conducted data and analysis on a data set to inform several of the proposals, as well as to provide context to the public for the options that are presented in the ANPR. In addition, we have made that data set public. A clear message from all our stakeholder outreach efforts is how central CRA is to the low and moderate income and underserved communities that it was intended to serve. Stakeholders have offered a lot of ideas on how to improve it and underscored the importance of getting CRA modernization right. That's been our aim in developing the ANPR that is under consideration today. I will now turn the floor over to Suzanne Killian, who is the senior officer leading our CRA modernization efforts, and thank her for all her work to bring this ANPR forward today.
Thank you, Eric. Let me start by saying that the effort to develop this ANPR involves staff from the board and across the Federal Reserve System. It is my pleasure to introduce the staff who will be discussing the ANPR and taking questions
Just
and
moving to 1
answers.
minute now until the bottom of the hour.
Ana Alvarez-Boyd is the senior officer who leads our division's community development, policy, and research branch. Joseph Furshine is the line officer over the CRA policy team here at the board, and Carrie Johnson is the manager of the CRA policy team. They will discuss the test design and metrics. Maria Villanueva is a senior examiner with the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco and will discuss the treatment of assessment areas in the ANPR. Lisa Robinson is a senior supervisory analyst at the board, and she will discuss the treatment of qualifying activities in the ANPR. Jessica Farr is a senior CRA subject matter expert at the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, and she will discuss provisions of the ANPR intended to minimize data burden and the request comment on how best to balance this aim with others the proposal seeks to accomplish. Dan Ringo from the Division of Research and Statistics is here to answer any questions you may have on the metrics proposals, and Amal Patel from the board will answer any questions you may have on the statutory purposes of the CRA. As you can see, it has been a Federal Reserve system-wide and cross-divisional effort. With that, I will turn to Ana, who will start the discussion of the ANPR with some details on the stakeholder outreach we did that so fundamentally informed our approach. Ana?
Thank you, Suzanne. The ideas in this ANPR are informed by stakeholders across a broad spectrum of views. As you know, the Federal Reserve System is uniquely positioned for extensive outreach through the community development programs across the 12 reserve banks and at the board. In this instance, community development and supervision partner together to reach across their networks to identify and understand the multitude of views that stakeholders have on CRA. In 2018 and 2019, we conducted 30 roundtable sessions at the board and across the country to get the benefit of external perspectives on how to reform and strengthen the CRA regulations. We heard from stakeholders in both rural and urban settings and from bankers and community development practitioners. Working together, community development and supervision staff from across the Federal Reserve System convened the meetings that advised the proposals before you today. For example, staff at the Minneapolis Federal Reserve Center for Indian Country Development advised us on policy ideas to increase bank investment in Indian country. Our outreach also included a partnership with the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School. We hosted a research symposium on CRA data and metrics approaches. Importantly, we also have the benefit of feedback on CRA reform from the board's advisory councils, including the Community Advisory Council and councils made up of bank representatives. Our communication with these councils was rich. I was present for the Community Advisory Council discussions on key aspects of CRA reform. Council members offered the board members perspectives on aspects of CRA that are working well, and they counseled us on the elements that need to be strengthened. These insights complemented what we heard from other external stakeholders throughout the process. Finally, I want to credit the many ideas for CRA reform that emerged from the thoughtful conversations among the staff from the 3 banking agencies responsible for administering CRA. A number of the proposals that the staff will discuss today are based on our interagency discussions. Now let me turn it over to Joseph, and he can begin the staff discussion of the specific provisions of the ANPR here. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ana.
In our discussion on CRA reform, we have divided our work on the ANPR into three broad topics. First, metrics and performance test design. Second, assessment areas. And third, qualifying activities. As staff go through each of these topics, we will discuss the stakeholder feedback we receive and how the ANPR seeks to address this feedback to stay true to the CRA modernization objectives that Eric just talked about. I'm going to start by discussing the metrics and performance test design at a high level, and then Carrie will describe each component in more detail. And then other members of our team will describe assessment areas, qualifying activities, and how we sought to minimize data burden. The framework proposed in the ANPR divides CRA evaluations into two broad tests, a retail test and a community development test. Under the retail test, there are two subtests, a retail lending subtest covering activities like mortgage lending and small business lending, and a retail services subtest covering such things as where bank branches are located and the extent to which banks reach low and moderate income customers through financial products and services. Similarly, under the community development test, there are two subtests, a community development financing test, for example, covering loans for affordable apartment buildings or loans to community development financial institutions, and a community development services subtest, for example, covering bank staff volunteer activities. Having separate retail and community development tests responds to stakeholder feedback on the importance of both retail and community development activities. And we think this is also responsive to the core purposes of the statute. In addition, as Eric said, tailoring was front of mind in designing these proposals. Another advantage of splitting bank evaluations into these two broad tests, retail and community development, is that it enables quite a bit of tailoring, which was a key aspect of external stakeholder feedback. We propose to have all four subtests apply to large retail banks. They would be evaluated under the lending and services components of both the retail and the community development tests. Further, small banks would be evaluated under the current evaluation process unless they decided to opt into the proposed framework. For small banks that do opt in, they would be evaluated only under the retail lending subtest and could decide to have community development or retail services activities considered as well. Wholesale and limited purpose banks would be evaluated under the two community development subtests. And any bank would continue to have the option of being evaluated under a strategic plan. With that as a broad framework, I will now turn to Carrie, who will provide more details on each of these four subtests. Carrie?
Thank you. Let me start with the retail lending test before turning to talk about the community development test. As Joseph mentioned, the first part of the retail lending test is the retail lending subtest. The core part of this subtest is a pair of metrics evaluating complementary questions. The first question is, how well is a bank lending to borrowers in low and moderate income communities? The second question is, how well is a bank lending to low and moderate income individuals, small businesses, and small farms? These questions get at the heart of CRA's core purpose, and the ANPR proposes metrics to measure this performance in every bank assessment area. Banks that pass thresholds for these metrics would receive a presumption of satisfactory on the retail lending subtest in an assessment area. This is a key way the ANPR would provide greater certainty and clarity. The ANPR provides a threshold approach that would be uniform across the country, but the result of that approach would be dynamic thresholds that vary across communities. As a result, thresholds would reflect different economic conditions and opportunities in different parts of the country. The ANPR suggests a potential level for these thresholds for public feedback. This reflects extensive board analysis using the data set that Eric referenced, and this same data is available on the board's website. Let me next turn to the retail services subtest and how the ANPR would evaluate the banking services of large retail banks. The ANPR proposes retaining the qualitative aspect of this evaluation while also including quantitative benchmarks to make this analysis more consistent and more transparent. The first prong would evaluate how banks use branches, as well as online and mobile banking platforms, to serve low and moderate income individuals and communities. This responds to feedback from many stakeholders to retain a focus on the importance of branches. while also responding to the way banking has changed with the rise of online banking. The second prong would elevate the focus on the availability and impact of checking account and savings account products for low and moderate income communities. We believe this would provide greater consistency in bank evaluations while also promoting financial inclusion for low and moderate income communities. Now, let me turn to the community development test, and I'll first talk about the financing subtest that would apply to large retail banks. The ANPR proposes combining the evaluation of a bank's community development loans and qualified investments and measuring that activity in dollars relative to a bank's deposits. The resulting metric would be used in each to evaluate a bank's community development financing performance. The ANPR seeks feedback on two options for using this metric. One would provide a presumption of satisfactory, similar to the retail lending subtest, and the other would serve as a starting point for an examiner's review that would also focus on the responsiveness and impact of a bank's community development activity. On the community development services subtest, the ANPR provides a framework for giving banks CRA credit for volunteer activities or board service in a way that is more transparent, while still allowing examiners to reflect the unique circumstances in each assessment area. Like retail services, this evaluation would remain qualitative, but with the use of more standardized data. Overall, we think that these four subtests would promote financial inclusion and a comprehensive yet transparent approach to evaluating how banks serve low and moderate income communities. Let me now turn to Maria Villanueva to discuss ANPR proposals on assessment areas.
Thank you, Carrie. On assessment areas, we heard from external stakeholders that branches continue to be important, and the Federal Reserve research and outreach also supports this conclusion. At the same time, many stakeholders urge the regulators to update the regulations to better adapt to bank online models for delivering loans and providing financial services. As a result, the ANPR continues to focus on facility-based assessment areas and also provides an opportunity to address business models that are not branch-based. In addition, the ANPR reaffirms the requirement that assessment area boundaries do not reflect illegal discrimination and do not arbitrarily exclude low and moderate income census tracts. For facility-based assessment areas, the ANPR provides small banks with greater flexibility to designate small assessment areas that are not a full county. The ANPR proposes providing greater clarity when small banks would not be required to expand beyond partial counties, such as where it does not have a physical presence and engages in a de minimis amount of lending. The ANPR also seeks feedback on deposit-based assessment areas and lending-based assessment areas, and it also explores including a nationwide assessment area approach for certain banks that have significant online activity. The ANPR also clarifies where community development activity outside of assessment areas count for CRA purposes, since this has also been a source of feedback on the current regulation. This is also responsive to stakeholder feedback we heard on the need to address so-called credit hotspots and deserts. With that, let me turn it over to Lisa Robinson, who will discuss key qualifying activities provisions in the ANPR.
Excuse me. Thanks, Maria. In the area of CRA qualifying activities, we heard stakeholder feedback that in some cases there is a lack of clarity on what activities are eligible for CRA credit. For example, there is confusion as to whether a bank will get CRA credit for a loan to an apartment building that is affordable, but that does not have federal or state subsidy attached to it. To address this feedback, the ANPR proposes ways to increase certainty on what counts by defining terms in the regulation that have been a source of confusion. We also propose broadening some current activities while staying true to the core purpose of the statute of addressing inequities in credit access for LMI communities. As Eric mentioned, the ANPR seeks to advance financial inclusion by proposing incentives for further bank investments in minority depository institutions, community development financial institutions, and community development activity in geographic areas of need outside of assessment areas, including Indian country. It also seeks to provide broader eligibility for certain bank volunteer activities in rural areas. For example, serving on a board of a civic organization or helping to build affordable housing. This is responsive to stakeholder feedback indicating bank participation in rural areas of this kind make a difference in supporting local communities. The ANPR also seeks feedback on designating certain community development activities as being responsive to community needs or particularly impactful, including affordable housing for very low-income households or economic development activity for the smallest businesses, the smallest firms, and minority-owned small businesses. Finally, there was also positive stakeholder feedback on the OCC proposal to offer a pre-approval process for banks to get an advance read on whether a particular activity would count, as well as to provide an illustrative list of qualifying activities. As a result, the ANPR seeks feedback on how best to implement these approaches. And with that, I will now turn it over to Jessica, who will discuss our final segment of how the ANPR minimizes data collection and reporting burden. Jessica?
Thank you, Lisa. With respect to minimizing data collection and reporting burden, the ANPR recognizes the potential trade-off between additional data collection and reporting requirements on the one hand, and the greater use of metrics to attain certainty on the other. It seeks feedback on the best way to balance these important objectives. The proposed metrics would rely to the greatest extent possible on existing data. Small banks would be exempt from deposit data collection requirements, and the data used for the lending analysis would be the same as is used for current examinations. Existing data sources would also be used when possible for large banks. New data collection and reporting on community development financing activities would be required in order to evaluate community development financing in a transparent and consistent manner. The ANPR also seeks feedback on deposit data options for large banks, and in particular for large banks with extensive deposit activity outside of their physical branches. Specifically, the board is evaluating the use of FDIC summary of deposits data versus new data collection and reporting. With that, I'll hand it back to Carrie.
Thanks, Jessica. One final point on the ANPR is that it includes a detailed proposal for taking all of the components discussed this morning and translating that into a bank's overall rating for its CRA performance. With that final comment, that concludes our staff presentation on the ANPR to modernize the CRA regulations. Chair Powell, I will now turn it back to you, and staff would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Carrie, Maria, Lisa, and Jessica for your excellent presentations. Now is the time for questions by board members, and we'll begin with Vice Chair Clarida, please.
Thank you, Chair Powell, and let me second Chair Powell and Governor Brainerd for my admiration for the incredible work done by the staff on this project. I think I had my first briefing on CRA as a nominee, and it's really remarkable what has gone into this. But just one quick question to lead off. The proposals in the ANPR were informed by existing data and analysis. What did you take away from the analysis, and why was it so important to developing the proposals in the ANPR?
Dan, do you want to take that?
Yes, thank you. The ANPR is based on data and analysis to minimize the risk of unintended consequences and to increase clarity as to how it would affect a broad range of banks and communities. To this end, Our research staff created and used a database that included data from a sample of approximately 6,300 performance evaluations, ranging from 2004 to 2017, with the sampling designed to capture the range of bank sizes, geographies, regulatory entities, performance years, and performance ratings. We used this database to analyze how to set retail lending benchmarks that are grounded in local data and that provide a consistent and transparent way of translating a bank's performance into conclusions. We also analyzed how to use data to evaluate community development financing, and the ANPR discusses a metrics-based approach for this purpose that we believe will provide banks with greater certainty and will encourage a greater degree of responsiveness to the credit needs of our communities.
Thanks. I should note that after the question session, we'll go back around for people's statement of their views on the proposal itself. And with that, Vice Chair Quarles, please, for questions. Okay.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I guess a significant question I'd have is, I've been concerned for a while about small businesses, small farms, their access to credit. Obviously, that's been exacerbated in the current COVID event. What does the ANPR do to address that issue?
Lisa, can you cover that question, please?
Yes, and that is a great question, given the climate that we're in. The ANPR includes several proposals to encourage activities most supportive of small businesses and small farms, and I'll just mention 3 of them. For example, as Dan mentioned and was discussed by Carrie, the proposed retail lending metrics focuses on the number of loans to small businesses rather than the dollar amount of loans, which means that banks do not get more credit for focusing on larger loans to larger businesses or larger farms. We are also looking at ways of revising the type of activities that qualify under economic development definition, and considering whether there should be additional flexibility in the criteria for activities that support the smallest businesses and farms. And finally, we're seeking feedback on additional steps we can take to encourage financing of the smallest businesses, smallest farms, and minority-owned small businesses. And also looking at ways in which that definition may be altered, and so that we can look at working capital financing or startup cost financing. And I'll turn it back to you, Carrie.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Governor Brainerd, please.
No further questions for me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Bowman, please.
Thank you, Chair Powell. I noted in a number of places that you focused on rural activities for smaller banks and CRA activities in those areas. How do you see the way that you address this in the proposal working together to incentivize and to count better those activities?
Jessica, could you cover that, please? Jessica, you need to turn your mic on.
Sorry. Yes, Governor Bowman, we received significant feedback on the point of rural communities, both from banks and community groups, and we made a conscious effort to encourage bank activities in rural areas and to recognize the unique needs and opportunities in these areas. First, as Lisa mentioned briefly in her remarks, we are considering including a wider range of service activities to address the particular needs of rural areas, such as volunteering to build affordable housing and serving on the board of an impactful civic or nonprofit organization. Rural areas often have less community development capacity and opportunity, so we think it's important for banks to give back to their local communities in different ways. Second, the ANPR proposes to designate geographic areas of need where banks could conduct activities outside of assessment areas. The board believes this could help encourage more activities in CRA deserts and increase community development lending and investment in areas where it is needed most. Finally, The proposal includes several options to ensure that all assessment areas, including smaller rural assessment areas, are factored into a bank's overall ratings.
Thank you. Seeing, I think, no further questions. Thank you, Jessica. Seeing no further questions, we'll now proceed to stating our positions on the proposal, and I'll turn first to Vice Chair Clarida for that.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Enacted in 1977, the Community Reinvestment Act is an important law that encourages financial institutions to meet the credit needs of the communities they serve, importantly, low and moderate income neighborhoods. But banking has changed in significant ways since then, and I am pleased to see that the Federal Reserve is moving to update and modernize this important regulation. The proposal before us seeks to strengthen the CRA while also providing greater certainty and tailored regulations for financial institutions that are subject to it. I believe that the CRA ANPR is a thoughtful proposal that draws on significant stakeholder feedback from bankers, community groups, civil rights organizations, and academics. The regulation is complex, and the ANPR appropriately poses a number of questions to seek additional feedback on how it might be improved, and I certainly look forward to reviewing the public comments that we do receive. In sum, this proposal is a solid step to update the regulation to better reflect today's banking landscape while continuing to meet the core functions and purpose of the CRA, and I fully support this ANPR. Thank you, Chair Powell.
Thank you. Vice Chair for Supervision Quarles, please.
Thank you, Chair Powell. I too want to thank our staff for their thorough and thoughtful work on this important project. I want to particularly acknowledge the work that Governor Brainerd has done to lead this effort. I'm happy to have this matter come before the board for a vote today, and I'm pleased to support the issuance of the ANPR in order to advance the goal of modernizing the CRA. The ANPR seeks feedback on several approaches that are designed to make the rules clearer, more transparent, less subjective. For example, the metrics would provide more clarity and transparency on how bank ratings are determined. In talking with stakeholders, the Fed staff and I heard feedback on the need for clearer standards and updates to the definitions of assessment areas to better reflect the practices of modern banking. And the NPR offers ideas to provide greater clarity on those issues. I think it's important to stress, as Anna Boyd did in her remarks, that the Federal Reserve has been working jointly with the OCC and with the FDIC on CRA modernization, and that there's a shared view among all of the regulatory agencies, among community groups, among banks, among everyone who's affected by this regulation, that it can be improved, and that the implementation of the statutory requirement is not as well served as it could be by existing practice. It's important to have consistency across the three banking agencies responsible for implementing the CRA regulations. All three regulators have benefited from the stakeholder comments provided through the comment letters, roundtables, and meetings. There's significant interagency agreement on the objectives of CRA reform. And again, as Anna noted, many of the ideas in the ANPR reflect interagency discussions and regulatory proposals. I'm hopeful that issuance of this ANPR will be an important step toward achieving consistency across the three banking agencies. The ANPR is inviting comment on a variety of fronts, ranging from narrow to broad. I encourage views from all sides to weigh in on how the proposal can be improved. In particular, I look forward to reviewing comments about whether the approach contemplated in the ANPR strikes the appropriate balance between achieving greater certainty in how banks are assessed while minimizing burden and data collection. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Governor Brainerd, please.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Again, I want to thank my colleagues, both at the board, across the agencies, as well as the stakeholders who have given us really rich feedback, and of course, the staff that have done this work. I think the ANPR will advance the CRA's core purpose of addressing inequities in credit access and ensuring an inclusive financial services industry, which I believe is as important as ever as the nation confronts challenges associated with racial equity and the COVID-19 pandemic. It's been 25 years since the last significant revision to the CRA regulation, so it's important to get reform right. By providing a 120-day period for public comment, I hope that feedback on the ANPR will create a foundation for the banking agencies to converge on a consistent approach that has broad support among stakeholders, and I look forward to reviewing that feedback. The ANPR will strengthen, clarify, and tailor the CRA regulation to better meet the law's core purpose, and for that reason, I'm pleased to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Governor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Chair Powell. I'd also like to commend the staff for their work in preparing this advance notice of proposed rulemaking. I'd also like to thank Governor Brainerd for her leadership on this important effort and her work with the other agencies in this process. In my view, the proposal we're considering today offers a foundation to develop performance standards that could provide greater transparency and consistency as banks plan and execute their CRA initiatives. I'm encouraged that the ANPR offers ideas and seeks feedback on different ways to advance these objectives. For community banks, I also appreciate efforts to develop clearer standards and boundaries in defining assessment areas, especially for small banks operating in a small portion of a large county or only making a few loans in a limited area of a county. I also look forward to public comments on how best to capture activities in rural areas. This is an important focus since CRA investments in rural areas can significantly strengthen support for community and economic development. Overall, I would like to see a consistent, simplified approach for all banks that is flexible enough to take into account the unique aspects of the community bank business model. I remain hopeful that any final rule would reflect a shared consensus across the three banking agencies responsible for implementing CRA regulations. I continue to believe that the industry would be best served by an interagency approach, which would provide a consistent regulatory framework for banks of all sizes. I look forward to the comments from all of our stakeholders with an interest in fulfilling the goals of this important law, and I'm pleased to express my support for this proposal.
Thank you. And I too am delighted to express my support for publication of this ANPR. And I'd like to thank Governor Brainerd for her leadership and staff for a truly extraordinary amount of work on this over a long time. It's very nice to see it come to an early state of fruition today. And I think we've heard and learned a great deal from our conversations with all stakeholder groups, as well as with our fellow banking agencies, as many of you have reflected. Very much looking forward to reading and digesting the comments, and ultimately to moving the agencies, all of us, closer to a common platform for CRA. So thank you for your great work on this. We will now proceed to vote on the proposal. I need a motion to approve an advance notice of proposed rulemaking seeking comment on an approach to modernize the CRA regulatory and supervisory framework by strengthening, clarifying, and tailoring regulations to ensure they reflect the current banking landscape and better meet the core purposes of the CRA, and staff to make any minor or non-substantive changes to prepare the documents for publication in the Federal Register.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
I will now ask each board member for your vote. Vice Chair Clarida?
Yes.
Vice Chair for Supervision Quarles?
Yes.
Governor Brainerd?
Yes.
Governor Bowman?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. The motion has carried and the proposal is approved. Once again, that concludes our business here. I want to thank staff for this, for the hard work. Very much looking forward to seeing the comments, and we do encourage, as a number of my colleagues have, all stakeholders to share your perspectives during the 120-day comment period. And again, thank you very much to all. The meeting is now adjourned.
Bye.